This is where a lot of mint state coins get stuck. This coin is mint state 63. At first glance, this looks like a solid uncirculated coin. The luster is there. The detail is there. Nothing looks obviously wrong. But once you start looking at it under magnification, you begin to see why this never made it past mint state 63. And that matters because one point in the mint state can completely change how this coin is valued. This is where the grade starts to compress. Right here in the focal area. At normal viewing, this might not jump out immediately. But once you isolate it, you can see what's happening. It's not one major hit, it's a pattern. You see multiple small abrasions, light chatter, surface interruptions, and more importantly, they're all sitting in a very high visibility area. And that combination is what starts to hold the coin back. Now, take a step back and look at the whole coin again, because grading doesn't happen at this level alone, but it starts with the overall impression. Does the coin feel clean, or does it feel busy? Where does your eye go first? Are you drawn into the design and the luster? Or are you pulled into the small interruptions across the surface? This coin still looks good, but it doesn't feel calm. It feels slightly active, slightly broken up. And that is what makes the difference. This is the difference where nice and higher grade starts to separate. These marks are not extreme. They're not damage. They're not disqualifying for a mint state grade. But they are numerous enough and concentrated enough to interrupt the surface. Notice how they're not isolated. They form a little bit of a texture, kind of low-level noise across the surface. And once that noise builds up in the focal area like that, the coin loses that cleaner, more refined look. And that's what prevents it from moving into gem uncirculated territory. And this is the important distinction. This coin is clearly mint state. There is no wear. Luster is intact. The design is fully preserved. So nothing disqualifies it from being uncirculated. What's happening is not a loss of mint state status, but it is a ceiling, a limitation within the mint state grades as to how high it can go. These surfaces just aren't clean enough in the areas that matter the most to move higher on the grading scale. Now, compare that to a stronger coin. This coin is not perfect either, but look at the difference in how it holds together. Focal areas calmer, marks are fewer or less concentrated. The surface doesn't feel quite as broken up. It feels more continuous, more controlled. And that's what you're paying for as the grade increases. Not perfection, but balance. This is where mint state 64 lives. Very close to gem, but not quite there. This coin might have strong luster. It might look very appealing overall. But if just a few areas are still a little too active, a little too busy, well, that's what's going to stop it short. And that's why mint state 64 can feel so close, but still not cross into mint state 65. Now, watch what happens when we push this further. At higher magnification, the surface starts to break down visually. You can see the full extent of the abrasions. The texture becomes more obvious. But here's the important part. At this level, every coin starts to look worse. Even higher grade coins. So this is useful diagnostically. It helps explain what's happening. But that's not how the grade is assigned on its own. So this coin stalled at mint state 64. Not because it's worn, not because it's unattractive, but because the surface is just a little bit too disrupted, especially in the areas that matter most. The marks are too concentrated. The focal zones are too active. And the overall balance just isn't clean enough for a higher mint state grade. This is still a solid mint state coin. It just lives in the range where grading becomes much more competitive. And once you start to see how surface balance works, well, then grades like mint state 63 and 64 begin to make a lot more sense. If you want to see how magnification changes what you're seeing here, or how this compares to almost uncirculated versus mint state, those are linked right here.